Right, right. Right next to the museum or the...
At 6 p.m. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Drake,
Present.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Present.
Commissioner HAREN,
Present.
Commissioner Randolph,
Present?
Commissioner SOHN,
Present. It's okay.
Vice Chair JAHROMI,
Present.
Chair AMAR.
Present.
Everyone's here. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what, and I didn't hit my button, so I'm going to practice it. Present.
Thank you. We will move on to the approval of the agenda. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve?
Commissioner SOHN will motion to approve. SOHN.
Thank you.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Commissioner Drake,
What are we doing? Approving the agenda, yes.
We're approving agenda.
I approve.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Approve.
Commissioner HAREN,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Commissioner SOHN,
Aye.
Vice Chair JAHROMI,
Aye.
Chair AMAR.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Now, to comments from the public. Are there any comments from the public on any item not appearing on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. We have item 2.1, receive the minutes from regular design review and historic preservation commission meeting on July 23rd, 2024. And 2.2, continue public hearing to September 10th, 2024 for the consideration design review permit UA 2418 to allow the remodel of the existing 1,087 single-family residence at 255th Street West, including the addition of 1,079 square feet of living space, construction of a rear covered deck, and expansion of a front covered porch, increase in height of structure, full roof replacement, and replacement of all exterior windows, doors, and finishes.
I have a question about item 2.2. What is that about?
So that's just a request to continue the item to the next hearing date, that's all. So we have some edits that needed to be made to the plans, and so we're waiting for those to come in before you actually hear it. If they don't end up making those edits that need to be made, then we're going to actually have to go to Planning Commission for special considerations.
So this will be included in future agenda?
Correct. So it's
Okay.
just a request for continuation, and just as a reminder to design review, you can approve the consent calendar as a whole, and so you don't need to do individual motions. You can just make a motion to approve your consent calendar.
Thank you.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved. I second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drake,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Aye.
Commissioner HAREN,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Commissioner SOHN,
Aye.
Vice Chair JAHROMI,
Aye.
Chair AMAR.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Now it's time for public hearing. We have tonight item 3.1. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve a design review application for a 390 square foot addition to the rear of the residence within the historic overlay at 336 West Spain Street, including action to approve a categorical exemption pursuant to section 15301 of the state CEQA guidelines. And we have a staff report, it looks like.
Good evening, Commissioners. So the project site is at 336 West Spain Street. This is roughly between 3rd and 4th Street West. It's near the entrance to the General Vallejo Residence State Park. While it is within the open space Vallejo District planning area, it is zoned for low-density residential. It has about 100 feet of frontage on West Spain Street. Is within the historic overlay, and the parcel is about 1/3 of an acre. So to the north is area zoned park for the, as aforementioned, General Vallejo's Residence State Park. To the west is the General's Daughter. To the east is more park area and what I assume are residences for park rangers or some other kind of development there, but it is zoned park. Now, the project site is an existing 2,817 square foot, one-story, single-family residence with an attached garage. The residence has cream stucco with red brick trim, Spanish-style terracotta clay attic gable vents, and a front-covered porch. The windows are casement craftsman style. So the entire structure was fully remodeled in 2013, and we have an HRE from that time when that application was received by the city that establishes that the home was not a historic resource before it was remodeled. The new remodeled home is not yet old enough to be considered a historic resource. So while it is within the historic overlay district, that is not required. So the request before you tonight, the applicants are proposing to enclose a 390 square foot area at the rear of the structure, not visible from the public right-of-way, in order to add to their living space. The addition would have glass doors and windows with transom windows above, a flat roof, and the same finishes as the existing residence. There's no increase in structure height maximum, as you can see from the side view. The roof would be flat. It does have a 2% grade for rain drainage. And on the right in the site plan, you can see that in red is the area of the addition. It's between the garage and the eastern wing. So this is a view of the rear of the residence. You can see the project will enclose the area between that is currently occupied by a raised deck. And this project does trigger major design review because it involves alterations that increase floor area by more than 10%. Or 200 square feet in total, and because it changes the roof design and replaces windows and siding, all while being over 45 years old and within the historic overlay. On the bottom, you can see an elevation of the proposed rear of the structure. So the project is compliant with all aspects of the Open Space Vallejo District standards, including height. The existing structure height is approximately 15 feet, and the proposed height is the same. The floor area ratio, the addition will still result in a structure that is well under the maximum floor area ratio. And while it adds to the rear of the structure, there will still be over 60 feet from the rear property line, where 20 feet is the minimum required. The required findings for this project are design review findings and findings for projects within the historic overlay, and our detailed draft findings are within your staff report. And this project is exempt pursuant to CEQA because for a section 15301 existing facilities exemption, because it does not result in an increase of more than 50% of the floor area of the structure before the addition. So staff, if the Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission determines that the findings can be met for design review permit to allow for this addition, including action to approve categorical exemption, staff recommends approval of the project as proposed. No special conditions of approval are suggested. Thank you.
Thanks, Elena.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have questions for the staff?
I actually have questions. Thank you. Maybe not specifically to the project, but to understand a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
The historic district, the height requirement is 30 feet, or maximum is 30 feet?
So it's based on the planning area.
Okay.
And so we have different areas of the city, and this one
Right.
is in the open space Vallejo district. It doesn't come up very much because most of the open space districts are zoned as parks and don't have residential development in them. But there is a small amount of residential development in that planning area,
What is the maximum?
30 feet, and it's in,
Right, okay.
This, yeah.
So I guess what my question is now, thank you for answering that part. The height proposed is 15 feet,
15 feet.
but they could only go up to 30 feet.
Yes, they could go up to 30 feet technically.
Okay,
It would be visible from the front of the structure because they're only going up to the height of the existing structure. It's not visible from the public right away, so there's no visual impact to the street view.
so if we're approving 15 feet,
Yes.
and let's say it goes to 20 feet, let's say they build it at 20, I know that makes no sense, but let's say that there was an issue.
We would probably catch it during the building permit approval and inspection process. So the plans that they submit for their building permit have to comply with the approved plan set that we're
That we are
reviewing
approving
tonight.
today.
Yeah.
Got
And
it.
so we will review, planning department will review the plan set when it comes in for a building permit. And building inspectors will be going on site to confirm that the project complies with the approved plan set.
So ultimately, if there were any changes, if it wasn't what we voted tonight, you would still come back to us
Yes.
with those changes. So
Yes.
they don't have the ability, is I guess my question, to go to 30 feet, even though okay,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
answered my question. Thank you
Yeah,
very
if there are
much.
any changes to a project that is approved by
Got it.
a discretionary commission, we have to go back.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further questions?
I have a question.
Yes?
Yeah, if you could go all the way back to the beginning to the aerial view.
This one? Or,
Yep, all the way back. That
all
one.
right, there we go.
Okay, so for my edification as a newer commissioner and newer Sonoma, what's going on there with that large open space and this carve out in that space? So you identified the Vallejo open area, I think, but is that what we're looking at, the green? And what is
Yes.
that?
So, over to the right, you see that road that goes, that's the entrance to the general Vallejo Historic Park.
Right, okay.
And all of the green space is zoned park, is part of that state historic park. The carve-out is a little bit of low-density residential. To the right is also zoned park and is part of the park, so I assume it looks like it's residential to me, but I think it might be associated with the park.
It's an office.
Yeah, state parks housing
Okay,
is what I presume it is.
all right, so just to the west is the general's daughter across a little driveway or a street or something like that?
Yeah, there's 4th Street West
Okay.
is off the screen to the left.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Is the applicant available? Please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
I'm Chad Overway, I'm an architect for the project, and I live at 630 Austin Avenue, Sonoma.
Thank you very much. Would you like to tell us about the project?
It's pretty self-explanatory. I
All
don't
right.
think I need to say anything.
Thank you.
I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have, though.
Any questions for the applicant?
So the primary intent is to create internal indoor space in lieu of what is now outdoor space? Is that
That's
right?
correct. And increase the view. It's a wonderful view of the fireworks.
Right, yeah, I'm sure.
Hopefully that'll move.
I want to get invited to that party.
There you go.
Further questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any written comments?
We did not receive any public comments.
Thank you. And do we have any other public comments? Seeing none, I will close the meeting to the public and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Let's have Commissioner SOHN start us, please.
Thank you. Staff, I just want to thank you for the clarification on that. You know, as Commissioner Drake said, I'm also a newer commissioner. This is my second meeting, so my asking questions isn't because I have a specific way I want to vote. It's for my understanding and the public, so thank you very much. No discussion for me.
Okay, Commissioner Goldberg?
Looks very straightforward, very aesthetically pleasing, and I don't see any reason not to approve this.
Commissioner Randolph?
Same. This looks like a beautiful project. I have a lot of confidence in the architect, and the application looks great. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Vice Chair JAHROMI?
I agree with my co-commissioners, no more comments.
Commissioner HAREN?
No further comments at the time. Thanks for the staff report.
Commissioner Drake?
Probably a question I should have asked earlier. I think it looks beautiful. I think it was said that this isn't something that can be viewed from the walking path. And I didn't quite understand that because I don't know why it wouldn't be.
Well,
the
You're just talking about the trail.
the trail.
Yeah, the trail that runs
Oh.
through there, the walking trail. And maybe you were referring to something else.
I was referring to the public
street.
right away,
Oh, I see.
like the street side elevation.
Well, that makes total sense, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you. I agree with my fellow commissioners. I'll just say that I'm kind of disappointed it's not visible from the street because it's gorgeous. It reminds me of some kind of carriage house perhaps, or it's really kind of turning the home into like more of a Spanish Mission style vibe. And I think it's really gonna be great for anybody who can possibly see it from the backside, but it's a beautiful project. So would a commissioner like to make a motion to approve?
So moved, to approve.
Second?
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drake?
Aye.
Commissioner Goldberg?
Aye.
Commissioner HAREN? Commissioner Randolph?
Aye.
Commissioner SOHN?
Aye.
Vice Chair JAHROMI?
Aye.
Chair AMAR?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
May I ask a question before you continue?
Oh.
I was just walking in as Vice Chair was mentioning something about.
Come to the mic and state your name for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Cliff Merrill, 481 Claudia Drive.
Thank you.
Sedona. I just walked in as you were beginning, and is it my understanding that the item on 2.1, 2.2 has been continued on till September? Is that read on
Yes.
the door?
Yes.
It's
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a good evening. Thank you for being here. Thank
See you
for your
later.
service.
Moving on to item 3.2, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve a sign permit at 480 West Napa Street, including action to approve a categorical exemption pursuant to section 15301 and 15311 of the state CEQA guidelines.
Good evening, everyone. We are going to be looking at Wells Fargo Bank. They are looking to update their signage today. As most of you may know, it's located at 480 West Napa Street on the corner of 5th Street West and West Napa Street, right across from the Safeway parking lot. It is zoned commercial and mixed use. It is 2 separate lots that they use for their site. The frontage on West Napa Street is 116 feet approximately, and then along 5th Street West is 120. The entire site combined is roughly 338,332 feet. This is what it looks like from the corner of 5th Street West and West Napa Street. The applicants are requesting an updated sign program to their previous approval. They also are seeking a variance to exceed the total allowance of signs, aggregate sign area, maximum size of a sign, and total sign illumination. There are currently 21 signs proposed with this project, and they're requesting a total of 187.7 square feet of aggregate. The first sign is an updated version of what's currently on site. It will be located in the same spot. It's an internally lit monument sign. They're updating the colors and the overall look of the sign.
Can
Over
I ask a
on,
question? Is the current sign internally lit?
yes. The sign along 5th Street West is located, it will be located in the same spot up on the wall. It will be slightly narrower in the overall width, and it will be a little bit taller. It'll still be around the same aggregate allowed, and there's no illumination proposed for this sign. What's on the left is what's being proposed, and what's on the right is what's currently on site. For this one is along West Napa Street. The sign on your left is what is being proposed. What's on the right is currently there. As of right now, this one currently has illumination, and they're seeking that same halo illumination. The proposed sign will be slightly larger at 48.2 square feet of aggregate. They're also looking to update all of their window signs, so every door will have the new logo that's on the right-hand side. The doors vary slightly in the size of the window, so we did an approximate height of 60 inches high. So it'll be a total of 7.5 square feet for all signs. They're also looking to redo the existing entrance signs for parking lot and driveway entrances. The sign you see on the far right is for the 5th Street West side, and it will be moved farther away from the street in a better location for view of traffic. The sign in the center is what is being proposed for West Napa Street. They're also looking to update all of their property information that they have on site. They'll be roughly a little bit smaller than what's currently there by, I think, about 2 inches either way. And there'll be a total of 2 of them located on the property. There are 10 one-sided parking standard signs, I believe is what the information is. And those will be smaller than what is currently on site as well. And then the right turn only sign, they're looking to update it. It will be slightly longer and a little bit narrower than what's currently there. They're proposing 1 mounted no smoking sign. I'm not sure of the location of this one. So for the standards of signs, the number of signs that are allowed per business is 2. If you have a rear parking lot, you're allowed an additional sign of 3 square feet. If your parcel has a greater frontage than 200 square feet, you're also allowed 1 extra sign. So they're seeking 3 signs in this case for their large signage, but they are seeking to receive 21 approved signs for the overall site. And so 18 directional and 3 branding signage. As I stated previously, their aggregate that they're looking for is 187.7 square feet. What is currently allowed based off of their street frontages is 76 square feet. And then they're also the largest individual sign size possible is 80 square feet, and their largest is 48 square feet, and their largest is 48.2. So it's a little bit larger than what's allowed. So those 2 do not comply. Their overall aggregate does not comply as well. They're seeking 187 square feet. All signs will be located on private property, so we are in compliance there. Illumination. So for illumination signs, monument signs are internally illuminated signs are not allowed to be larger than 27 square feet per face of the sign. Currently, their monument sign is at 32.7 square feet per sign, so it is larger than what's allowed. I'm so sorry, I'm reading that backwards. The wall sign is not allowed to be larger than 27 square feet. They are currently proposing 42.2 square feet. And the current proposed illuminated monument sign is 32.7 square feet per side, and only 18 square feet is allowed per face. Their monument sign does comply with height and setback from the street. And then exemptions for this property, they have two. The blue signs on the doors for handicap entrances as well as poles. Those are all smaller than 1 square foot, so they do not count towards the sign total, and they don't count towards the aggregate as well. The findings for this project are the proposed signage complies with applicable policies and regulations set forth in the sign ordinance, except for approved variances, all other city ordinance, and the general plan. The proposed signage is consistent with the proposed intended expressed in this section and the applicable sign guidelines set forth by this ordinance. We are also looking for the proposed signage to be harmonious and consistent with the overall location of the site, including the adjacent surrounding development and environmental features. For a variance, we would need to meet all of the findings in this section for a variance to be granted. If not, then those are up for discussion. So for this evening in front of you, this project, as I said, was approved previously. They were approved in May 2012 by the Design Review Commission, and they were approved for 3 signs. 1 2-sided monument sign that was 32.77 per sides of square feet. With internal illumination, 1 wall sign without illumination for 5th Street West, and 1 wall sign without illumination for West Napa Street. When they applied for their building permit and it was issued, they were granted 1 illuminated monument sign, 2 non-illuminated wall signs with gooseneck lamps, and 18 directional signs. So what currently is on the building was not what was approved in the building permit. Hold on. Sorry. So they're seeking tonight, the applicant is seeking a new sign program that includes all 21 signs, 1 illuminated wall sign and a monument sign, and the 18 directional and informational signs for the site. They're requesting a variance to exceed the total allowed signs, aggregate sign area, maximum size of a sign allowed, and the total sign illumination square footage. Staff is recommending that the directional/informational signs to not be larger than 1 square foot. This would exempt these signs from the total number of signs and the total sign aggregate, making the proposed project compliant with the number of sign total. We are also asking for you to discuss the size of the internally illuminated signs, because they are not allowed to be, the wall sign is not allowed to be larger than 27 square feet, and the monument sign is not allowed to be larger than 18 square feet per face. And they are currently larger than what is allowed. Staff is recommending that you consider reducing the total square footage of an illuminated sign and the reduction of the monument sign and wall sign sizes so that they do not exceed what is allowed in the code. This project is exempt to CEQA pursuant to sections 15301 and 15311. And the staff recommendation for this evening is if design review will determine, if you determine the findings can be met for the sign permit, and then staff recommends approving the application for the sign permit variance, including action to approve the categorical exemption pursuant to section 15301 and 15311 of the state CEQA guidelines, subject to the findings and following conditions. All freestanding signs along West Napa Street and 5th Street West shall be located no closer than 6 feet from the public right-of-way. All monument signs located adjacent to the driveway shall be no taller than 40 inches tall, and all directional and informational signs shall be no larger than 1 square foot in size.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Natalie.
No problem.
Is the applicant here?
No.
No. Thank you. Might pop out of the closet or something. Okay. So, what questions do we have for staff?
The applicant is actually online, if you
Oh.
have any questions.
Great. Should,
So-
okay.
Thank you, Chair. Natalie, could you go back about 2 slides to the building permit, right there. So, believe it or not, I remember this project when it was originally approved. I think it was one of my first projects because I do recall when it was executed, I was stunned by the size. But the building permit was issued with the 21 signs, right?
Correct, yes.
So there are no new signs being requested for this application,
Not at this time, no. It'll
Okay.
be the same amount.
same
currently
amount of
there.
signs. And, let's see, what else I was gonna ask you? Maybe that's it for the moment. Thank you so much.
Further questions for staff, Daniel?
I do, and I apologize, there's a few of them. Could you go back to a few more slides? I'll see when I see it. Okay, actually, one more, go forward. Okay. It's where the two, okay, how many signs are illuminated? One outside and one inside?
All the signs are exterior. The wall-mounted sign on West Napa Street.
Right.
Let me go to,
There was one existing that hung from,
this one
This
is,
one,
yes,
yes.
this one is currently illuminated, and they're proposing it be the same halo illumination on the face.
just a little bit larger is what they're proposing.
Yeah, the
And
overall.
And the sign's color.
Yeah,
change.
the
Okay.
backing is a little bit larger than what's currently there, so it makes
Okay.
it a little larger.
So there's one illuminated sign.
No, there is also the monument sign that's
Okay.
internally illuminated.
So 2
Okay.
illuminated signs.
2 total
So
illuminated
when I'm
signs.
hearing it, I appreciate the clarification, because I'm hearing internally as in inside the building.
No,
Oh, gotcha.
inside the sign.
Inside the sign.
Mhm.
Okay, not lit on the outside, lit on the inside.
Correct.
Okay, this helps me narrow down some of my other questions. Okay, and then the next question is the signage that's directional. Where did you say, okay, let's stop here, actually. So I have the question on the doors too. On both doors, are they gonna have this on both sides? Or they
No,
mean-
so the picture on the left is what's currently there.
Correct.
And the picture in the center is what's being proposed.
Okay, and then there's how many entrances?
I believe there's 3 entrances. All doors will have this logo. They're adding on some of the doors a yellow striping around the overall windows on, I
Okay.
believe, one of the doors.
Okay.
But that total of the striping didn't exceed 1 square foot, so it doesn't count
I see.
towards the aggregate or sign total.
Okay, thank you. And then there is, where the ATMs are, where you drive in on 5th Street?
Mm-hmm.
Can you go back to that slide, please?
Yeah, that's this one.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's to the left of this bit, the
Directional
The
sign.
right-
directional sign,
Oh,
thank
the
you.
right way only,
Thank you,
or right turn only.
correct. So I've been in this parking lot. It's a little confusing when you come from the other side. So that you can only drive in, you cannot exit, is that correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
So is there going to be a sign on the opposite side?
The opposite side is 2-way, so it's an entrance and an exit. Only the side on 5th Street West is 1-way
Okay.
only.
That's why I'm confused. Okay, thank you, that answered my questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
I have a question. My mic's not working.
Commissioner Goldberg?
If someone could turn off one of their mics, then she could turn one on.
You're canceling me out. Can we go to slide 19, I think it is? Okay, that's a good way to illustrate my point. So the existing sign, the gray one on the left, how large is that one currently?
It is 20 inches, and they have an overall height for the sign. 1 second. Yeah.
Madam Chair, when they're done, I have a follow-up question. Thank you. I'm sorry.
This is a good time for lots of staff questions when we don't have so many people in the
Gotcha,
room.
okay.
So it's 20, the sign itself is 20 inches tall. So
Okay.
this one will be 36 inches.
Okay. I guess my comment would be, I feel like that's kind of visually, the new sign is a little bit tall, and I feel like it might be visually
So
obstructive.
they have the same sign on both sides.
Mhm.
One of the elevations that they're dictating the size of, they're showing the overall height. And then on the other one, they're showing that it's a 20 by 20 square.
I see.
So I think it's a 20 by 20 square just lifted up.
Okay.
Existing?
Yeah, the existing. But the proposed is 36
Yeah, so
inches.
she's- So as far as the proposed goes, with all these directional signs and other informational signs, this is where staff's recommending that we limit to 1 square foot because it's really just
Got it.
white space at this point, but it all counts towards that sign. So this is where, kind of where the original 18 were probably all closer to that 1 square foot, which is why they came in only with the building permit and not prior with the actual design review. Okay?
All right. Commissioner SOHN?
Yes, could you please go back to the slide that says does not comply, does not comply? I'm sorry, I don't know the number of that page. Okay, on the does not comply, there's 4 there, I believe. What is staff's recommendation for each of those? I just want to be clear on,
So the discussion, we're asking you to discuss if you would like to make them comply with
Oh,
these
I see.
sections, with the overall, or reduce, to be what you would prefer.
okay, thank you.
Question?
Commissioner Drake and then Randolph.
I'm still confused about the numbers. What it says here on this chart is 2 signs and then another 1 sign, a total of 3?
Yes.
Okay, and they have 21.
Yes, so they're seeking a variance for the excess of signs.
Right. It seems to me, going back to the earlier photos, that a lot of the signs are a lot of words that are hard to read in the parking lot that are repeated over and over again. I noticed in your slide you didn't say what was on them. You just said language to be the same. What is on them and why are they necessary?
They did not state what's on the signs. I do believe they are the general parking regulations for the property,
That
the
was
customer
great.
parking only and things like that.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure why so many of those were needed. It looked very unnecessarily cluttered and the kind of sign that nobody reads. So in terms of cutting back everything, it seems to me there were too many of those and they could be reduced significantly. Could you go back to that photo for a second then? I think my point makes a little more sense. Yeah, that. I mean, that's a whole lot of words that people don't read. And it seems to me it's repeated too many times in the parking lot.
I think Commissioner Randolph has a comment about this.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really have a comment about this. I think there's some, whatever that is some kind of requirement. I don't think it's informational or directional. It's something about parking regulation. But I had a different comment, but
Okay, so I was just wondering about that, because it
Yeah.
occurred to me that, yes, it's required, but on the other hand, if they're only allowed 3, and you're saying this is exceeding the limit, I'm not sure we have all the information that we need.
So this goes back to the other recommendation that we reduce to 1 square foot of what is required information. So when you go to public parking lots, you will always see this sign for what is allowed. The reason why is because you cannot tow if you do not have the sign actually stating the code that allows you to tow. And so that's where that's in, and it's telling you what the code sections are that are going to allow them to tow your car if it's parked there. So the number that they need to sign, again, if it's less than 1, we technically don't have any requirements around that square foot. We can always make recommendation. If it's above, then we have that more of that discretion about how many times you place that sign. Going back and forth, there's that sign, there's another sign again about what the use of that Right there, you can see another one that's informational again. I think that's also a parking one. So that's something that we can ask the applicant when they come on about if there's any regulations that they have in regards why so many. So that's something that we can ask them. And then the no smoking and things like that. Those are just general signs. But again, with the general recommendation of less than 1 square foot, it would reduce the total number of signs to the 3, which is what occurred in the first design review as well. Also with that first design review, they did say no illumination on the 2 wall signs, only on the sign in the monument sign. I will note that that monument sign is consistent with what was approved previously for the monument sign with the internal illumination. I do want to note, though, that when looking at the plans, the reason why we have the full 32.77 square feet is because the red actually is translucent and not opaque. So you will actually see glowing red as well as white. So it's not just the white letters coming through, it's actually the whole sign is going to be lit from the inside. Unlike the wall sign, which is just the letters themselves are lit and backlit. They have the halo effect on those as well. So these are different types of illumination on these different signs. And so what counts towards that square footage is what we're asking you to kind of to look at. We're not sure what happened with the wall sign, that's on Napa. It's there, it's been there for a long time. It was interesting to see gooseneck lamps on the building permit, I will say. Obviously, those never happened. So it is what it is, and we're dealing with a new proposal today. And so that's why we aren't specifically making a recommendation as to what it should be limited to, recognizing that the signs were previously approved to be the size that they are. Now, the illumination is a different story, right? And so does design review want to look at that a little bit closer? Do you want to approve a variance as proposed? Those types of things are what we're asking you to consider tonight with this proposal, along with staff's recommendation to limit all the other directional and informational signs to the 1 square foot. So that's the only specific recommendation staff has, so that we're really only discussing 3 signs.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Randolph.
Thank you, Planner Gray. A question about the illumination. So the current sign is illuminated internally as well, but it's not, or is it translucent? I can't remember. Do we see the whole big red rectangle?
So it's not, can you go to this? It is all illuminated.
Okay.
But I
It's
don't know
going to
what's
look
going on
different with the
signs.
white, and it's going to look brighter, which is the
It'll
whole point
look
of the
bright.
white,
Yeah.
So I really appreciate your recommendation for making the directional signs all the same size. That I think that does a lot of different things. Besides reducing the number, it just makes things a little bit less differentiated. So, all right, thank you. We'll keep going.
Further
So
questions?
I'm not sure I got clarity on that. The original sign is internally illuminated?
Yes.
And it doesn't look so red, is it just faded? But,
Yes, I believe so.
okay, so the new sign is going to be incredibly bright red.
I think we'll let the applicant talk to what the color changes are with the Wells Fargo logo branding has changed, obviously.
Right.
So they'll be able to comment on the difference between what Wells Fargo's red palette was previously and is currently.
Okay.
I have one last question, I apologize. which, oh, this sign is the one on the corner, right? Okay. Smaller or larger?
It'll be the exact same size.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and bring on the applicant, please.
So just so everybody knows, when we bring on the applicant, which I'm doing right now, you will not have the ability to see the PowerPoint presentation.
Gustavo, are you able to hear us?
Hi, yeah, I can. Could you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, thank you.
Good to hear. Okay, so I did hear a couple of your concerns. From what I understand, one of the concerns was the parking lot signs, and to that, I'm not entirely sure what the code or what the requirement is for parking. In terms of just my opinion, all of the parking signs will obviously say what is currently there, but from what I understand, our client wanted to basically replace one for one because most of these signs are under the light fixtures, which will allow customers to know that there is a parking requirement. And then in terms of the monument sign, I know that you guys were concerned about the illumination and how the white, if possible, I'm sorry, I think that my note here is wrong, but the red was being questioned. I don't know if the commissioners would want us to opaque the red. That way it tones down all of the red and only allows the light to the Wells Fargo letters. I know that is something that we've done in the past. So I'm just throwing that out there. In terms of the 21 signs, it is my understanding that the city has approved those 21 signs in the past, and if we're able to basically obtain the same approval as what was approved back then that's basically what our client is looking for. And if you have any other questions, I'll be here to answer to the best of my ability.
Thank you so much, Gustavo.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Gustavo, I just want to clarify I'll take it as an offer, which is to de-illuminate the red background on that monument sign so that just the Wells Fargo letters are illuminated. Did I hear you say that's been done in other locations and would be a possibility in this one?
From what I understand, that is correct. Ideally, Wells Fargo likes to keep their image the same throughout every city. For reference, we just did another one in the city of Napa, and they did allow our proposal as per what we're proposing here. So, from what I understand, it has been an option in the past, but if the commissioners would allow what the branding standard wants, then that'd be amazing.
Wondering if it would be helpful for you to elaborate a little bit more on your branding standards and how they apply to this project specifically?
Yeah, just more so that generally Wells Fargo likes to stick with what is within their branding standards, right? Like all of their all of their monument signs tend to be internally lit without any opaquing of the background. But that's it. I'm not a rep of Wells Fargo.
Are you the sign designer?
Yes, I'm with the sign designer.
Okay, thank you for that.
So just to help clarify, this is Jennifer with the city, to help clarify for the commission, it appears that the new branding for Wells Fargo has changed to a true red. And I think previously it was more of a a maroon and goldish yellow color, like a burnt yellow. Is that true? Is that correct? That it's more of a defined red and yellow now?
It's white.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, do we have further questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back. Oh, sorry. Are there any comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll close the meeting to the public and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Thank you so much, Gustavo. And let's start this time with Commissioner Drake.
Thank you. I do have to leave at 7, so I may not be here for a vote, but I'll just be very honest and say I love driving into a city and seeing any attempts at logo modification that quiet things, whether it's Starbucks or McDonald's or Wells Fargo Bank. To me, that's a sign of thoughtfulness, and I would like us to consider requesting, which he has offered or says has been done before, that we de-illuminate the background, make it opaque, whatever, making sure that the lettering is as visible as they want it to be, but not creating a giant red box on the corner that isn't really needed to see the name. And given that he said it's been done before, I think that's something we should ask for, an exception to their branding for that sign. That's my suggestion.
Thank you. Commissioner HAREN?
Jennifer, could I ask a question to staff? I would assume so, but since the items are, the size is not in front of me, if we do move forward with their suggestion on the 3 signs, our one wall sign and the monument sign, in terms of illumination, to have it be the lettering only and not the background, that would then that would be within the max size within the city, because right now our issue is that the total aggregate of space of illumination. But just to clarify, if we went with the offer, that proposal, we would be within the maximum?
They would still be asking for a variance. I have to look specifically on the size of just the lettering for Wells Fargo, but it's only 18 square feet, so I think it still exceeds the amount, but we've reduced it, right, by allowing that. And then also, we're still exceeding on this sign as well. So this sign is larger than what is currently allowed by just 0.2. So it's something that we could easily probably work with them to reduce. The illuminated allowance, though, is 27 square feet. This sign is 48 square feet. So it's always going to be larger than what is allowed, but that's up to the discretion. That's why that's why this applicant is asking for a variance for this project. It's not just, each sign, it's kind of a aggregate of illumination. It's each sign is kind of just a little bit over for what's allowed. So this is where we don't have a specific recommendation, because we do recognize there's signs existing right now, and it's just whether or not, we're treating this as a new program, because this sign specifically was never approved to be illuminated, and so this is what I'm calling new. And so whether or not design review wants to approve its illumination or ask for reduction, that is why we're not making a specific recommendation. Or if you think it's fine the way it is, then you can approve the variance for that as well. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
My point of view on this would be twofold. I agree with both points of staff recommendation. The first one, to reduce the sign to 1 square feet just to meet code for the necessary information. I think that meets code, reduces visual noise and clutter. And then the last point, I think what's interesting to note here is that I think exceptions can be made if something had already been approved in the past and it feels like it was done for the right reason. However, I'm going to just note out loud, if it was not approved and now it exists, I don't feel as a commissioner to honor the existing if that was not approved in the first place. So I do agree with their point to go back to having the size of illumination of the total aggregate of those 3 signs, since now the other 18 would be reduced to 1 square foot to meet code, to be within the max size of allowed illumination within Sonoma City Code. That would be my suggestion.
Can you say that one more time, what your recommendation would be?
Yeah, my recommendation is I support staff's recommendation of both bullet points. First one, of all signs to be reduced to 1 square foot each, or excuse me, of the 18 signs to meet code. Second point, I agree with staff's recommendation to have the size of total illumination meet code.
And what are you suggesting about the internal illumination issue that I mentioned? I'm not clear about that.
If it meets the max size, then I think at this order of events, Jennifer, you'd have to correct me, but my suggestion would be to take it back to Wells Fargo and have them figure out the way to meet the max size allowed by Sonoma's code of maximum illumination. So it's not something we're deciding on right now where I'd point to it's 2 monument signs or it's the wall sign. That's a mathematical calculation. My suggestion here is to stay within code for those 3 signs in regards to illumination. And if that's something that very specifically needs to work with city on, is it the muted background and letters only? To me, that seems like a mathematical ratio that would then come back to our agenda.
Okay. Vice Chair JAHROMI?
I have to say that I like the color and the lettering of the new signs better than existing ones. And I think this is much more visible and appealing. However, having said that, I agree with the staff that the size and the illumination limits need to be maintained. And the only clarification that I would ask, based on the staff recommendation, is that all of the signs that staff is recommending to be reduced to 1 square feet, I think the applicant needs to verify that the content would fit within the 1 square feet and is legible. Other than that, I think I don't see this application being ready for approval at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Randolph?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for all your good comments, and staff, thank you. Okay, so I do think also it is a good upgrade with the branding. It, I think, looks a lot better. It's kind of a complicated location with all the different ways of entering that spot. So I feel like the directional signs are necessary to keep things from being confusing. I agree with staff that all 18 directional signs, both for streamlining and consistency, should be the 1 by 1. I agree with Commissioner HAREN about the monument sign, about having them figure out how to work that out. I would, on the wall sign, which is also on West Napa Street, I would not illuminate that. I mean, that was not, if I'm not mistaken, that was not originally approved, and I would not illuminate that. It's oversized, and there's already a giant monument sign just a few feet away from that. So I don't see the need for 2 illuminated signs in that same location. So, review. My thought, yes to making all the directional signs 1 by 1. Work out the illumination of the monument sign so that it complies. And 3, I would not be in favor of illuminating the Wells Fargo wall sign.
Thank you.
I have one little question, though. The sign that is on the wall that faces Sonoma Market, that one is not illuminated, yeah. I was thinking I'd seen like little, okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldberg?
It's hard to find a busier corner than this one, so I really agree with staff recommendation on reducing the signs. And I very much agree with Commissioner Randolph's recommendation to not illuminate that wall sign on Napa Street. I do believe the proximity to the monument sign is enough illumination, and would also like to see the red background be muted or not illuminated at all per Commissioner Drake's original recommendation. On the directional signs, particularly the one that says enter the parking lot across from Sonoma Market, 1 by 1's pretty small, but I feel like the color contrast that they are proposing, I think it's slide 19, is going to help a lot. I drove by this tonight, and that enter is not enough contrast with the gray and the white, and it's really hard to see. And, you know, we have an older population here. There are all kinds of people on bikes and rollerblades and what have you. So that is probably one of the most crucial signs in this project. And, you know, a compromise could be to increase the font. I'm not a sign designer. That's completely up to them. But I think the contrast is a huge improvement. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Sohn?
Sure. Well, what's been said is what I wanted to say. I'm less concerned about the illuminated signs and more about the directional for safety, both of customers on the property and those driving into the property and leaving the property. I do support staff's recommendation to make these signs, directional signs, smaller. I also agree. I echo your sentiments that the lettering is much better than the green that existed with the red, but if we could make it larger, that's up to them. While certainly I'm going with staff's recommendation, again, I don't really have a preference in the illumination, but I will say that I will echo Commissioner Haren's sentiments that if something was not approved and it's there, we should really do our best to stay within code. I think that that will always suit us best. But it doesn't really set a good precedence when we approve something that was not followed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, first of all, I think that the whole color scheme is not harmonious with the architecture itself or with the surrounding environment, thinking more of the shopping center across the street and how they've dealt with their signage. The red for me is much too bold, and against the current paint colors, it's not working for me at all. The yellow striping, I appreciate you bringing that up. I hadn't thought about the directional signs adding the contrast to just draw people's attention, and I agree with that point. I would not approve of any other yellow striping anywhere. It's, again, the color is much too bright. I don't think it's harmonious with the current architecture, and it's verging on gaudy for me. Let's see. So I do agree with the 1 square foot design limitation on this 18 signs. Illumination, I agree with Commissioner Haren that it's a calculation to work out. I also agree with Commissioner Randolph that I would like to see it limited as much as possible. I think that the 2 being illuminated is too much. I would if I had everything my way, I would not illuminate the monument sign, and I would do the goosenecks. Now, we didn't ever discuss the hours that the lights will be on, and for time-saving purposes, I would ask the designer to consider that I believe it's 1 hour after closing. That is the rule for this town, and so we would like to keep to that as well. I would not approve a variance, and I think that a lot of the other projects that we've had before us for other presented by corporate folks, we have tightened that up a bit, and I think we're getting closer to getting some consistency, although we have a lot of legally non-conforming. But the goal is always to stick to the code, as Commissioner SOHN emphasized. I would prefer the reduction of the sizes of signs 1 through 3. I think they're just I know that's a brand requirement most times, but I think all of those could be reduced without any impact to visibility or their overall sign program. Okay, I'm just going to throw this out there that I prefer the existing right now to the proposed project. And the reasons for that is that it's quieter. We don't notice any bold red just popping out into our faces. The red is muted, and yellow is more harmonious, in my opinion, to the current paint color of the building.
I don't want to leave you alone on that point. I completely agree.
Okay.
It's just not a good look for our town, for the building.
And we've had this a lot of times from corporate folks, and it's really difficult for them to determine town by town. We're not Napa, and we're really trying to make consistent our sign program and be thoughtful. And at this moment, do you have to leave? Okay, well, thank you so much. You're excused.
I'm assuming this is going to come back at another meeting.
Yes, perhaps Natalie can give you an update.
Yeah, I'll check in with Natalie after this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Madam Chair, I have a quick question for staff.
Okay.
I know we have to be careful with time.
And I think that's all I have to say for now. So I will go ahead and.
Sorry, I didn't realize you weren't there.
No. I was just making sure I made all my points, but I have. Thank you, Commissioner SOHN.
Thank you. You had mentioned, Madam Chair mentioned the after-hours lighting ordinance, or can you, for those of us that are not familiar, what is that? I know what it is. What is the number? What's the?
I need to look up specifically, but in this case, this is a little different because we do have a 24-hour ATM.
Right.
So it's not that this business actually closes. The office may close, but the business is still 24 hours. So again, just we'll look at it and see if there's anything more specific. I will say this, all banks right now are going through a rebranding, and you will be seeing another bank here shortly too.
Okay.
We do not have a specific requirement that says that as far as the colors go and everything. So just keeping that in mind too. But we do have size requirements that are more, we do have findings that we can make around the color, but then also the size aspect. We, especially if it's illuminated and things like that, you do have discretion. What staff's going to recommend is bringing Gustavo back here in a second, and asking potentially you guys can do two things. Is one, make conditions of approval for the project, or you can ask to see it again with hearing what all of you guys have said tonight. They come back with a new package, and that you're going to make a recommendation tonight to move the item to either, and that's where I'm going to bring Gustavo back, to a date certain or a date to be determined. If it's a date to be determined, then we'll renotice it for a future date. The reason why is because there are a lot of ways they can go, and he's going to need approval from Wells Fargo.
I have a question. I think when he comes back for the next round, whatever we determine, whenever that's going to be, one of the things that would be helpful to all of us is to know the PMS numbers for these colors. Yeah. So that we have a true color. All monitors are different. We don't really know. I agree completely with your point. This feels a bit gaudy for our town, but it is their branding. So if we have a reference point of the PMS numbers, then at least we can have a true color.
And if I could just ask, can this commission make a recommendation to request that, and I want to be careful how I say this, while Gustavo was able to answer several of our questions, maybe that someone from the corporate level branding team could also address some of these concerns or be present for us? Are we allowed to request that?
You can request,
Okay, okay.
right,
Well,
so,
Madam Chair, I'd like to see if that's a possibility, because we are working with a corporate, a large corporation, and I think the intent of their application was to be seen, to have their logo be seen, right? That's what branding is all about. And so to be conscious of keeping within code, following our ordinances, following a pattern, which is what we want to keep, I think that having us speak directly to those who can make some of those decisions at the brand level would be helpful.
So noted, thank you.
Thank you.
I do remember my last point, if I could interject while you guys are getting him up there. The sign that I do like and approve of is the wall facing Sonoma Market. I think it's simple and lovely, and if the other sign on Napa's side facing could be more similar to that, I would be inclined to approve that. Also, I am just imagining if the building is painted white, and I think maybe the whole design program, I would think it might reflect better on the architecture existing, if that happens, just saying that.
Good thought.
So do you need a motion, Madam Chair?
just a
I think
second.
we're pulling
Okay.
Gustavo back on.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Jennifer.
Gustavo, are you available to speak to the commission one more time?
Yes, I am. Just to reiterate, the one question that was asked is if I can give the color specification, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So based off of the information that I have available, the only thing that I can see here is the vinyl number. I'm not too sure if that would be helpful, but if not, then I can for sure get whatever information, those specific color palettes for you guys at the next hearing if this is going to be pushed. If not, then I could give you the vinyl number, which will give you guys a better reference of those colors.
Thank you.
And,
So the, Gustavo?
yes.
Okay, so there are a number of comments that were provided by the commission tonight that would require modifications to the signs, and we can enumerate that list for you in any email after this meeting. So the question before you, because I'm going to assume that you do not have the ability to accept conditions of approval that will modify the sign package, that you bring back a new proposal or a modified proposal based on the comments at a future hearing. So my question for you is, do you think that this can be done, let's say, by the October meeting date, or do you want to just leave it open-ended and we'll renotice the project?
Yeah, October will be more than enough time. I did make a couple of notes of the comments that were made, but if you are able to send over an email, that would be helpful. That way I can forward that to the contractor and then to their client and Wells Fargo.
So if we said September, you would need, let's see, if it was September, I would need the full package by the 30th of August. So that gives you basically 2 weeks. Is that feasible, or do you want October?
No, honestly, I feel like that's feasible. Wells Fargo has been, or my client, the sign contractor, has been responsive, and their client, Wells Fargo, has been extremely aggressive in getting back to us. So that's a very possible date.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so staff's recommendation then would be that the commission make a motion to continue this item to a date certain on September 10th.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to move agenda item 3.2 to our next meeting, September 10th.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Herron,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Commissioner SOHN,
Aye.
Vice Chair JAHROMI,
Aye.
Chair AMAR.
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0-0-1.
Thank you. Moving on to items for discussion. Do we have items for discussion? None?
So just for future reference, if I have anything on the items for discussion, I'll go ahead and place it into the agenda. So those would be considered like more of regular business items that don't require a public hearing.
Perfect, thank you. Director comments and announcements.
I don't have any new announcements since the last time we met, and we are just continuing to move forward with the general plan right now, and just to stay aware of that coming forward. I do have one announcement. So we did hire 2 planners that will be starting, and both of them will have started by the time of your next meeting. So you'll meet them at the next meeting.
Wonderful.
All right.
Commissioner reports and comments? Seeing none, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:17.